Shirtless fencing Sulu? Oh my. Hello, welcome to JD's Journeys. My name is JD, and today we have another episode of the Star Trek Project. In this episode, we're looking at Star Trek The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 4, The Naked Time. In this episode, the Enterprise goes to the planet Psi 2000, where they discover that everyone has died. And the crew of the Enterprise starts acting a bit drunk. Unfortunately, this is also kind of fatal. But they search for a cure. Could they make it in time? Well, of course. Just a little warning, there are spoilers in this video. So what do I notice about this episode? It's kind of funny. Right at the beginning, Spock and Lieutenant Tormolen are on the planet, and of course Tormolen has to be stupid and stick his hand up his environment suit, and of course he gets sick from that. But the environment suits look like really cheap plastic hazmat suits, and just that you could stick your hand up here like this and touch your nose, that's a little strange. I don't think that suit works. So it turns out that the planet Psi 2000 is collapsing. So it's compressing down into a smaller mass. Well, not a smaller mass, but smaller volume. But some of the things that they talk about, like the orbit of the Enterprise is degrading because of this. But if something decreases in size and the mass stays the same, the orbit shouldn't change. Like, this is basic physics. So they're getting this wrong. We have some firsts in this one. We actually get to see the food dispensers in the recreation room. I've seen in later episodes that the food looks like gelatin cubes, but in this case it wasn't. We're introduced to Lieutenant Riley in this episode, and he's, I believe, in another episode afterwards, sometime later in the season. So I think he's only in 2 episodes. But he's in this and he plays a very major part. Moving on to sick bay. Of course, Nurse Chapel is introduced in this episode. She's a major character in Star Trek. And during the surgery scene on Lieutenant Tormolen, I noticed that sick bay is dark. They don't have very good lighting. Doesn't that seem a little dangerous? Another thing I noticed in sickbay is 20th century spray bottles. They're plastic. What are they doing in the 23rd century? One of the most unbelievable things I found in this episode is the mention of universal suffrage. I can't believe that they're actually talking about this in the 23rd century. Someone said that they were very happy that women are given the chance to actually sit at the helm. Why? It's the 23rd century. Now, I understand at the time, this is the 1960s, this is a big topic at that time, like equality and all that stuff. But by the 23rd century, they wouldn't even be talking about it because, well, equality is normal. This episode features probably one of the most iconic scenes in Star Trek, and that is Sulu terrorizing other crewmates while shirtless and carrying a fencing foil. Yeah, definitely one of the best scenes in Star Trek. There are a lot of things about Spock in this one. For one thing, we get to see his Vulcan nerve pinch for the first time. Also, we get to see him with Nurse Chapel, and she confesses her love to him. And of course he becomes emotional, says sorry, but he can't. Yeah, this episode has some really good acting by Leonard Nimoy. Just him showing off his emotion. It's actually quite good. We get to see engineering for the first time in this episode. And the first 3 episodes, there's nothing about engineering at all. But it's good to see it, finally. There's a bit of character development in here for Kirk. He says that there's only one love in his life, and that is the Enterprise. He's very sorry about being unable to pay any attention to Rand. I think he has feelings for Rand. A really funny thing I've noticed is McCoy had to rip Kirk's uniform to administer the antidote to this disease. Well, it's Kirk. He always has to have a ripped shirt, right? One interesting thing that happens in this episode is they end up going faster than the speed of light in normal space. Now, warp speed is not normal space. In warp technology, what they do is create this bubble of space around the Enterprise while that space is being pulled along at faster than the speed of light. Now, this is actually a working theory, and it is pretty sound. But since they're going faster than the speed of light in normal space, time goes backwards. And they use this in future episodes to go back or forward in time. This episode has a connection with a Star Trek Next Generation episode called The Naked Now, in which the same kind of thing happens. I find the original series does this a lot better. So what do I think of this episode? I think this is one of the best Star Trek episodes. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it so much when I see it. It shows a lot of the range of acting for a lot of the actors. Leonard Nimoy is great. Scotty wasn't affected. He didn't catch this illness, so he was just his normal self. Kirk was over the top. Really. Well, he was a Shakespearean actor, so he brought that to this role, I guess. McCoy wasn't affected, and so he was acting pretty normally, although he shouted a lot too. But Sulu was pretty crazy. So overall, I would give this episode 5 stars out of 5. It is excellent. So how about you? What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe. To see episode 3, please click here. To see episode 5, you can click here. And to watch the whole playlist, you can go right here. Thank you for watching. Live long and prosper.